You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 276, The Mandalorian Breakdown. Tonight, we're going to take a deeper dive into what we've heard and saw both at the Star Wars Celebration Mando premiere teaser extravaganza just a few weeks ago. And to do that is someone who I had the opportunity and pleasure to sit down with next, right at the panel itself. And I'm speaking as about none other than the original podcasting outlaw. Please welcome Jonesy to the show. Jonesy, good evening and welcome back.
Good evening, good sir. Thank you. I thought we classed it up a little bit tonight before we...
Are you wearing a top hat and a cane? Do you have a cane with you?
I do, and I just twirled my mustache. So
that's very nice. Speaking of mustaches, that's not probably true. And tonight, we're joined by a third guest and someone who is quickly becoming a regular member again of the show. I'm speaking of none other than the Dark Lord of podcasting and the founder of the Cantina Cast and Ear Glue Media. Please welcome back to the show, Michael Rondo.
Oh, man, I'm still laughing from... we were trying to go on air here, and anyway, that's a private joke. But it's good to be back. I've bullied my way onto the show, and I'm very excited because I'm pretty jazzed up about the Mandalorian, and I'm looking forward to talking about it. And I sat next to you guys, and that was a great experience sitting next to you guys. But we'll get into all that and stuff. So I'm glad to be here, and I might be bugging you guys for another few episodes to tag along and annoy you. But I'm still semi-retired,
right?
So don't think I'm coming back. I'm not.
In full disclosure, we did not invite
no one's
Michael
ever really gone
to be on the show. He just showed up, and it was really awkward because we were recording. So
that is true.
That is true.
But no one's ever really gone, right?
That's true.
In this case, I'm like a bad penny that will keep coming back.
Yeah. So speaking of bad pennies, let's get to the news. We've got there's not a whole lot to talk about. There's a few, a few things to announce and discuss. Let's start with Alphabet Squadron. They released an excerpt this week, and I don't even know if this was official or not. Like, I found this on Reddit, but when you go to StarWars.com, I didn't see anything. I didn't get a chance to get out to Del Rey and take a look at that to see if maybe it was out there somewhere, somehow. Somebody found the excerpt, and it's very small. It's very short. It's like maybe 2 pages long, if that. And I had a chance to read it. I know Mike did as well. And Jonesy, I don't remember. Did you get a chance to look at this?
No, not yet. I didn't know this was out there. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about it.
So, well, I skimmed. I didn't really get into it. I'll say this: it made more sense than when I listened to the Dooku thing. So it has that going for it. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's again very short. It's sweet, but it picks up with Erica Quell, and I'm saying Erica. It's spelled Yrica. I think Alexander Freed was trying to get really clever with the name, or maybe there's something there that we're not aware of, but I'm calling her Erica Quell, and she's essentially this defector, right? So we know that. We've talked about that, as she's a defector from the Imperial Navy, and this is obviously taking place after the events of Return of the Jedi, and it starts with her being chased by 3 other TIE fighters that know that she's a defector. She knows these fighters personally, and they're basically trying to they want to get her court-martialed, and she knows in the back of her head that there's not going to be a court-martial. They're going to kill her. One of them will definitely kill her because she's defected. She's being chased. Her ship is, frail. It's got all kinds of things going wrong with it. They're in the midst of this weather storm, and she takes this crazy maneuver and basically just dives down really close to the center of the storm. The other 3 TIE fighters get kind of consumed by the storm. They blow up. She crash lands. And it's actually, this is all being told from her perspective. And you find out she's telling this to a therapist droid, or some kind of maybe a psychiatrist droid of some type, but it's a repurposed Imperial Integrator droid. And at the very end of all, she walks away, and the droid kind of makes a comment that her story seems plausible. Given the events that happened, it sounds like what she's saying really did happen, but the droid does not believe her, that she's lying about something, and he's not sure what it is. And it kind of just ends right there. So very brief, very short. And I don't know, it was okay. I mean, you can't get a whole lot from the length of the excerpt itself, but I don't know. I'm excited about the books. I do like Alexander Freed. One, I think he's a great writer. Two, he's a SWTOR player. And
so you had to go there.
You had me at SWTOR, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I bought the TIE Fighter comic book, but I haven't had a chance to open it up yet and take a look at it because this is the first time we've had a tie-in, like a really direct tie-in between a comic book and a novel to get different perspectives of the same story. And I'm really interested to see if we get a flavor for what the book is going to be like from the comic book. So I'm excited to hopefully get that into that this weekend.
And the thing is, they don't make reference to Shadow Wing, which I believe is the squadron of TIE fighters from that comic book that we're going to be following. But my guess is they are part of it. I would hope so. I mean, that would be a cool direct relationship there. But yeah. So, Mike, I know you said you skimmed over it, but anything else that caught your eye in reading it?
No, I'm not really big on the.
All right. Let's talk about the Galaxy's Edge reservations. So those are live. They come out next week sometime. And Jonesy, have you had a chance to dive into this and how this is all going to work?
Yeah, May 2nd, they're going to do reservations. I haven't looked into all the details because this is just at Disneyland. So in California, and I'm focused. I'm going to be in Disney World in October, and we're trying to see how that's going to work or how they're going to deal with this in Orlando. And then we might go again later this year. So I'm kind of curious to see how they handle it. I don't follow the Disneyland stuff so much, but I imagine it's just going to be with your typical resort reservation. You're going to have the opportunity to be able to reserve your spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually how they'd handle that stuff, at least. But we'll dig into more of that. And if anybody's interested, they can reach out to us, or heck, they can even tell us what the reality of all that is. I know we've got some hardcore Disney fans out there. So if you're a California native, that'd be interesting to hear from you.
Yeah, hook us up because you're probably going to be more plugged into this than we are. The Art of Jedi Fallen Order was finally announced, or the Art of Jedi Fallen Order. That sounds weird, but Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, however you want to call it. This looks very interesting to me. I don't know that I'm that excited about the video game just yet because I've heard, obviously, I heard what I heard there at Celebration. And I know the Bad Gamers Anonymous crew had a chance to do an episode on that, and they kind of talked about it. And I know, Jonesy, you were there at the panel. Didn't sound like there was a whole lot revealed. So it's kind of lukewarm for me at this point, no pun intended. But nonetheless, I think this is going to be really cool. I would love to see what they've done with the art behind this game, because from what I've seen in the footage that was shown, it looks really great.
Yeah, we really enjoyed the art books in general, from Force Awakens and from Last Jedi and from Solo. So again, they usually do a great job with the books, and you get a little behind the scenes of all of that. Yeah, the Fallen Order panel, they didn't give us any gameplay, so it was more cinematics, and there were some engaging moments to all of that. We were a little disappointed we didn't get any actual gameplay, but this is kind of a different take on that. And we, like you've pointed out a number of times on the show, where you're able to get glimpses of the ideas behind it, and maybe things they didn't go with, but you can see where they were at. Right. And what's really cool is when at some point later on, they're going to draw from this, because nothing is ever wasted in Star Wars. It's just a time delay type of deal, right?
Sure. Now, Mike, I know you're a big fan of the art of books. Is this something that you're going to be picking up as well?
Absolutely. I pick up all the art books because I can't help, as much as I like maybe not like this game, I'm looking forward to this game. So I hope it's something spectacular, and I think it will be. But the artwork itself is something that always appeals to me. So I'll definitely pick it up. I did it with The Last Jedi, Rogue One, all of them. I always get these because, and even I know you were skimming through earlier this week where you picked up on something with Rey and the lightsaber and all that stuff. So you find these little nuggets and these interesting things. And, it's funny because I always want to take like a razor to the book and kind of just put them in frames. But I think that's like sacrilege. Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's like sacrilege. You can't do that. But maybe I'll do that.
You can buy another copy.
That is a good point, sir, and I might just do that. Thank you.
So here's something else, too, I thought of, and I don't know what the release date is for Jedi Fallen Order, but the release date for the art of is November 19th. Either of you guys know if that's before or after?
That's a week after the release of the game. The game, I believe, is... Oh, no, wait, that's not true. November 15th, because, Mandalorian comes out the 12th. I think this comes out the 15th. Or no,
busy time.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Maybe we didn't. Yeah, I think it's the 15th. It's November, regardless. Yeah. So this is right around the same time. So you're not going to get any spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's right. The only thing we didn't get a release date for was Clone Wars, right? They didn't give us a confirmation of what month. That was the only one that was left hanging.
I guess just briefly, I had a chance to finally listen to the Jedi Lost excerpt, and consider me Jedi Lost because I wasn't sure what the heck was going on.
That makes two of us, man. That's two of us.
Lost in that.
Yeah.
But I will say the actress that's playing Asajj Ventress sounds really close to Nika Futterman, and I think before we came on the air, we confirmed that that's not her. Is that true?
Right.
So
Orlog. Oh my goodness, I can't remember her last name.
I just had it too.
but she sounds great. She sounds really good.
Orlog Cassidy. That's right.
Thank you.
She sounds fantastic, like spot on, like perfect.
So if you've not had a chance to go listen to that, do yourself a favor, go take a look at it. And that's still, we're just a week away from that, yeah?
Yeah, the 30th. So by the time this comes out, it will be, basically be dropped, yeah.
Well, hopefully we get something out of that, something pretty exciting and new, but we'll have to see. All right, well.
Qui-Gon, Jonathan Davis. I'm excited about that. He did a great job on Qui-Gon's voice in the Master and Apprentice book.
I agree with that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I've heard bits and pieces of that just because when maybe we can do it real quickly. We were talking about the Master and Apprentice book earlier this week, and I had asked you I wanted to know what Rail sounded like, because in my head, I had envisioned that he was this scruffy, outback Western kind of guy, almost with a draw.
That's about right.
Cowboy kind of.
That's
cowboy
right,
kind-ish.
Yeah.
And I think you confirmed that was sort of what he was going with that particular voice. But
yeah, you were pretty much on the money with that one. That clearly they got that across in the book, because that's exactly what they went with in the audiobook.
Yeah, and I think it's just the way he's written, right? You just pick up on subtle things about his demeanor and the word choice that he has and his attitude.
We're going to talk about this, but sucking on a death stick reminded me of like having the wheat or the whatever it is that cowboys used to chew on back in the day in their teeth and all that. That reminded me of that every time he said he was kind of sucking on a death stick or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, that's what you usually have in your mouth. All right. Anyways, let's. I'm not a cowboy. Just play one.
No, you're not really a joke teller either. So
no, I'm not on my A game tonight. So
yeah.
All right, let's do this. Let's get into the Mandalorian celebration panel. And I thought, I didn't think this. Jonesy had this great idea. Let's just break it down by the panel. We'll kind of talk about the panel first. We'll move into the extended scene and talk about the teaser trailer as well. But just, Jonesy, overall, first impressions from you with regards to the panel.
This was my second favorite panel of all of Celebration. And really, it was, we talked a little bit about this last week. John and Dave Filoni's interaction with one another and them sharing the history of how they've known each other and working on Clone Wars, but also how they grew this friendship is really one of the more compelling stories that we got out of the whole thing. And how the concept of the Mandalorian came about really made for a really interesting story of how these things get rolling. And they pulled back the curtain a little bit of saying, it was just an idea at one point. And we talked a lot about Mandalorian history. I think they had some questions from online and that. But just to hear them kind of figure out how the idea starts to formulate, but then also you start to shape what does the galaxy look like in this moment here of this about 5 years after Return of the Jedi. And I thought that was, you really start to get a shape of how you want to tell this story when you just start to think about what happens after the celebrations end.
Yeah.
This back and forth of how they did that was really, really interesting. And I thought it was I highly encourage everybody to go out there and watch it. You can see all this stuff online, even the leaked footage and all of that. And there's nothing really spoilerish in any of it. But it's a really good
they
interaction.
said not to record, man. Don't record.
Yeah, but it's out there.
But people did. Yeah.
So I want to come back to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's relationship. But Mike, Jonesy picked up on something that we've talked about on the show recently, and I'm sure at some point you've discussed it prior to us coming on the air. But it's the impact of the Empire going away. We've mentioned it before that as wrong or as evil as you want to make the Empire to be, there are a lot of people, both that were directly associated with the Empire and anyone that relied on it, whether it's a third party vendor or somebody that was banking money on selling to them or working with them, had relationships with them, whatever it is. the minute you remove that from the galaxy, as huge as they were, as impactful as they were, there were ramifications that went through it. And I think what we're probably going to see here is some of those ramifications. There's maybe it's almost a lawless type of society at this point, especially this far out in the outer rim areas. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's like once a government falls, you get that vacuum, and something's going to fill that vacuum. And that's going to be very interesting. I mean, I know we got some of it in Aftermath.
Right.
And it's nice that we're actually going from like what happened in Aftermath. It's like the problem I have with Aftermath, we got all these hints and things, and we never got really any payoff. And now it seems like we're going back to that, and we're going to get that payoff. So that's cool. And I'm just curious what we're going to, and I was thinking of it today as I was prepping for the show at work, because I wasn't doing anything at work. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, all right, now, when you see the Empire there, is it really a remnant of the Empire? Is it a gang now? Is it are they just hired guns for whoever the crime syndicate has to be or is at the time, or who the boss is of the planet or whatever? So I'm curious to see how that unfolds. Or is this like on this one particular planet, they're kind of in charge, but we go to another one, maybe they're just hired guns, so to speak. So I'm looking forward to that dynamic of the world and seeing how the world is after that. And it is definitely the good, the bad, the ugly kind of Western type thing, and which is what the vibe you got, because I did some more homework today for this, Albert. You'll be very proud of me. I watched the holiday special. And I watched the cartoon. Just the cartoon with Boba Fett. That's the only saving grace of the whole thing. Although Chewie watching porn, I guess, is or Lumpy or whoever the hell's watching the porn. But anyway, so I'm very excited. It's very and in that cartoon itself is very kind of mysterious and Western-like, and you can see where they pulled some stuff from. Obviously, the rifle, even his look is very much like that Boba Fett that we saw back in the day. And just to reiterate, Jonesy, with Dave and John getting together, I mean, I think that sold me even more on this whole endeavor, is because there was such camaraderie, friendship, and they were really into it and excited about developing in this. It just kind of it drew me in even more. So I'm very excited.
And to go back to the Aftermath books, and to just help folks understand, maybe I didn't read the books. What the Empire had was basically it was cut off from all of their supply lines. They were basically local installations of the Empire, and they quickly faltered. They didn't know what to do. And often they started degrading into more guerrilla tactics. They would start painting the armor and kind of going native, if you will.
Yep.
If you've seen the extended scene that they showed at Celebration, or if you've seen the leaked footage, you get that same kind of vibe. These troopers are really, really dirty. It's a bit more lawless and disorganized, and it's kind of underground, if you will. And so I like that they brought that, and that they're bringing that forward onto the screen, and that we see how the Empire has now really devolved itself into something that is almost the exact antithesis of what they stood for initially, of bringing order to the galaxy. Even though they keep preaching order, they themselves appear not to have much of any of it at this point. And it's not the Imperial remnant that we had with the old expanded universe, right? Right.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because that's exactly what I was envisioning as well. Especially having read the Aftermath novels, you get the sense that they are splintered, and there's basically pockets of factions. You've got the diehards that are still loyalists to the Empire, and you've got another level of that which are still trying to, fulfill Palpatine's wishes in Operation what is it, Cinder? Yeah. And the contingency and all that, right? You've got those factions and those groups, but you've got to think there are other groups out there that are going, hey, Vader's no longer around, Palpatine's no longer around, I'm high up there in ranks, and they've got their own groups, they've got their own people that they could probably rally together and start kind of building their own empire, right? So you get these little splintered cells and people vying for power, and like you said, they want to be unique and be identifiable, and so they start painting their armor. That flame trooper was something we've probably never seen before. I think we saw it in like Force Awakens, or Force Unleashed. There was a very similar one there, but yeah, they're probably they're going to have their own take on what the Empire means to them, both physically and spiritually, and from a leadership perspective, they're going to probably do things the way they want to, and this all just kind of feeds right into this state of where we are with the Mandalorian in not only the lawlessness of bounty hunters and scoundrels, but now you've got the Empire mixed in there as well. So it just seems like it's going to be a very chaotic kind of cutthroat environment that we're going into. And what better setting to do that with a spaghetti Western / samurai type of approach to it. To go back to the Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, there was a moment when we were sitting there at the panel, and I was very conscious of this, but there was almost 5 to 10 minutes of that panel where I completely forgot that anyone else was on stage but those two. And even the actors that were on the stage seemed like they were so entrenched and engulfed in what and just the dynamic and the relationship between Favreau and Filoni. And I don't want to over exaggerate this by any means, but it just felt like these were two guys that hit it off really well, have known each other for years, best friends that had this one great idea. And you could tell they were feeding off each other. They just really enjoyed each other's company, and you could tell they enjoyed working on this together. And I think that's going to pay off hugely for The Mandalorian once we actually get a chance to see the final product.
Yeah, because I think that's what I think Gina was kind of awestruck by that.
Yeah, you could see it in her
I think
eyes.
she loved you could see that she was really admiring their creativity and them going back and creating something like this. And even Pedro, same thing. Like he was all into it. He was like he was, humbled by all of this. That, and it's funny when he said, "Oh, I'll be a tree" or whatever he said there, and stuff. It's almost like one of us getting the call because that's what we would be there and stuff. But it was really cool that, and I agree with you, Albert. I think a lot of us kind of just focused on them for a good 10 minutes of them just talking about it, and even when they brought out the cast, we talked about them a little bit. They didn't want to say much, but everyone got hooked on Dave and John talking about what this is going to be. And I was very surprised they mentioned, I'm not surprised they said like Western type of thing, spaghetti Western thing. I assume that because that's kind of what Boba Fett and Han Solo kind of were back in the original trilogy stuff. But when they said like samurai stuff, that piqued my interest. It's like, oh, there's like a little twist in here. So we're going to get like some kind of a sword fighting, a melee stuff going on other than like punching and, but we'll obviously have blasters and everything else under the sun. So I'm curious what the fighting looks like. It's going to be pretty damn intense, to be honest.
Yeah, I took the samurai approach more about that feudal era of Japan, right? Where you've got different warlords that are kind of vying for power, that kind of thing. Almost like, I don't want to say Game of Thrones because it's not really the same kind of thing, but where they do preach a level of order and there's a level of honor to some extent, but it is very, very cutthroat, and it's these are very I wouldn't say graphic, but because Star Wars isn't going to go there, but they're definitely going to be out to off one another. You say that, but that Vader comic this week, I don't know. They might go there. I'm just kidding. Anyway, we'll move on from that.
Well, one thing I'd like to touch on that I think it was Gina Carano that told this story was that the passion that Jon Favreau would bring to the set every day, and he'd be describing something, and she was saying that his eyes would water because he was so excited and it meant so much to him. And one of the criteria of any of the other directors specifically that was working on the show was that they had to love Star Wars. Mm-hmm. It had to be it was a prerequisite. If you didn't love Star Wars, or it wasn't evident that you loved Star Wars, there wasn't a place for you on this set and get to be involved with this show. And I think that's a really important, and they really stress that throughout the panel. And I think for us, that's really important to hear and to make sure that that's really clear to fans, is that they're producing something that everybody should be able to enjoy on some level, regardless of which era you're a fan of, that there's a lot there for you to go and dig into. And they brought this up more than once. Yeah, but that really starts with the direction of the show itself and how you want to shape the show. And do you understand what Star Wars is? And do you understand what Star Wars means to different sets of people, to where you can actually bring that to life in something that's really entertaining and something that's going to capture our imaginations?
I would agree. And there was one other thing too. When he was talking about the scripts themselves, he would mention that, typically you hear the pitch go something like, hey, they write it, they submit it, they maybe submit one episode and maybe 2 episodes, and someone looks at it, reads it, and goes, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. We'll greenlight it. And Favreau went to the extent of, I don't know how many he said he ended up writing,
4.
But it was 4 full scripts. and submitted all of those because he wanted to ensure that somebody like he wasn't going to submit these and someone from some executive producer decides to step in and go, yeah, you know what, buddy, but we're going to change starting with episode 3. We're going to go ahead and take this direction, or I want you to do this kind of thing. Right. It was his way of, exercising his control, but not from a bad place. This was control from a very good, earnest, honest fan place. And I think we could have asked for anything more, especially it sounds like they're very good stewards of the IP, stewards of what Star Wars means to us as fans. And I'm really hopeful that we're going to see that come across again in that final product.
Yeah, the curious thing I have is whether or not they gave, because this is Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau has had very successful movies. Now he's developing a lineage with Disney, with The Jungle Book and with The Lion King coming out, and of course the Iron Man movies. So I'm curious if this is just how they operate, or if this is really Jon Favreau bringing something special and unique to it. Because this was one of my favorite stories to hear, was that the thing he stressed was, I wanted to make sure that Lucasfilm wanted to make the same show I did, because that's the only way that he was going to be all in on it and be able to say, this is the story we need to tell and that we want to tell, and to be able to do that in the way that he envisioned, and not have, like you said, not to have the pull and the strain and the bureaucracy start to weed its way in, because you start from that place right away. Does this feel right to you, Lucasfilm, or to Disney or whomever? And if it doesn't, then okay, then let's not even start down this path. We'll move on a different way. Or if you're all in, then cool. We've got alignment going up front, and there's not going to be near as many surprises as you start to move into those later episodes, because you're establishing what the feel and the look of the show is right from the beginning, and it's your vision, Jon Favreau.
Let's touch on the directors. You mentioned it, but we've got Deborah Chow coming back. I think she did Jessica Jones. We have Rick Famuyiwa. What dope? What is that? I have never seen this. The movie, TV show, dope. What is that?
I think it's a movie. I think.
Mike?
No, never seen it. Never heard of it.
On. Nope. Bryce Dallas Howard. I think we all know who she is. What we got, Mr. Watiti, right? That was like a crazy reaction.
Ragnarok. Yeah. Well, because Ragnarok is so good.
It really is.
I love that. Yeah, it was like one of my favorite Marvel movies, which surprised me because I'm like, all right, I'll just watch this and whatever. But it turned out to be awesome. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go about. Like each one, I'm wondering if each one's going to have its own unique flavor, or if it's going to stay kind of this one linear thing.
That's a great point.
I'd like them to add a little. Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit of their flavor, like their directorial flavor, but I don't want them straying too far off. And 1 minute we got this kind of movie, and then all of a sudden we got like a Thor Ragnarok clone in the middle of the season. I don't want any of that, so I don't think we'll get that.
So go ahead. Well, I was going to say, for when TV, this is not uncommon, right? That they have multiple directors, and I think they meet regularly and calibrate and talk about what they're going to do. So everyone's usually aware, and for the most part, I would say, and this is just my opinion, I think most TV shows are pretty consistent, even though you get varying styles with lighting and cinematography and that kind of thing. They're all very close enough that it doesn't feel, disparate in some kind of weird way where you're looking at it, like you said. That said, anytime the one that comes to mind is somebody like Quentin Tarantino. He comes on and does like an ER episode, and it's very different. And that's what they want. They're going for that, right? Or he'll come on to another episode of whatever and do his thing. And there are other directors that are like that. They've got very unique styles. When I look across the board for all of these folks, I think it's easier for some of these folks to maybe shape their direction style a little bit more. I would think, somebody like Watiti would probably have maybe more influence in someone else, or, but I think they're going to, and long story short, I think they're going to level set on a particular style and look and feel. And I think that's probably going to be okay. But I think the wild card here is Dave Filoni. And I purposely skipped over him because we've seen him. Well, we know he's directed many episodes of animated, but this is his first foray, not into just writing, but actually doing live action directing. Jonesy, do you think this is something that he's got the chops to do? And I don't even know what you would base that on outside of just what he's done in the Clone Wars at this point and Rebels.
I think this was another interesting part of the panel where he and John were talking about their skill sets and what they bring and what they can help each other with. So if Dave Filoni is his Sherpa, as he kept calling him,
Yeah, sure.
guiding him through the Star Wars galaxy and how to manage all this and giving the George Lucas way of thinking to Jon Favreau, this is something that Jon Favreau gives back to Dave Filoni of saying, you have experience with directing. He has great art direction. He has great visuals of how he wants things. But here's how these things work in practice in a real life environment and building physical props, right? And they gave each other hard times. You can't hang a QuickTime on a wall, right?
Yeah.
As a souvenir, you build physical props so you have something for your office later on. But yeah, those are the things I think.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm less concerned about that because I think with that relationship that they have, you have like a very complementary mentorship going on within the galaxy at large, as well as how do you physically make a TV show in live action with stunts and everything else and going crazy. And to touch on the directors and the differences, it is a slight concern of mine because I think there are some, like you said, some will have noticeable differences, but I think what they can do to tie all that together is if you have consistent writing and scripts of who the writers are, and I believe this is primarily Jon Favreau. I don't think I've heard anybody else's name really surface.
Did Dave write one? I don't know.
I think he might have, but we're not really hearing anything beyond really Jon Favreau is the primary writer. And I think that's where you can really bind it all together. And then you just have differences of if I want to focus or how they focus on certain characters or on, how they direct the art style of it. But your story is still very consistent and you're not deviating from that. And I think that you still get the creativeness of the directors, but you still have the same story arc and you have the same feel so that it's not so jarring whenever you do change and you have these differences. Like I said, I like this. I like the complementary side of Dave and John's relationship.
Yeah, I think what you also find too, and I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but with the directors on a TV series, they usually try to play up to their strengths. So if you've got a director who's really known for their action sequences and you've got a particular episode that's coming up that is going to have a lot of action in it, they usually get the billing for that one, right? Whereas if there's something that's more subtle or laid back, more dialogue, close-up shots, more intimate type stuff like that, whatever, then they'll kind of play up to the strengths of this particular director, that kind of thing. So I think hopefully this is what we're going to see. It's been a recipe for a number of shows and it's been successful. And I think they've got if you look at these directors here, it looks like we do have a pretty wide spectrum in terms of their styles that, again, can still feel cohesive and not jarring. But I think they'll definitely play up to their strengths.
Refresh my memory. Is this 8 episodes or 10 episodes? It was 8, right?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think they have a set. Yeah, okay, I'm on it. I don't think they have a set. I'm going to say no bigger than 12, but that's on the high end. But I would imagine it'll probably be 8, which I kind of hope they do. I hope they do like a Stranger Things type thing. And I'm glad Dave's directing, get his feet wet so we can direct the Ahsoka movie that I'm going to say will happen at some point, someday. I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe it'll be a Disney Plus movie. What?
I said, yeah, I'd like to see that. We've been wanting Ahsoka in one of the movies for how long now?
Yeah. Yeah. So at least 5 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let's quickly talk about Pedro Pascal, Gina Carano, and Carl Weathers, because they came out and to a huge applause for all three of them. And Carl Weathers was just awesome because he comes out raining Apollo Creed quotes with,
I want you and
I
you.
want you.
And you.
Yeah, that was just, my heart just melted for that dude when he did that.
No, of course it did.
It could have been either that or if he'd done some Predator reference, that would have been just as fine for me as well. But you felt they were kind of tongue tied. They really couldn't say a whole lot. And we get that, right? They understand. Everybody kept looking at Dave Filoni. And this is where we got a lot of great moments like we got with the Clone Wars, where you could see just Dave, fidgeting in his chair, worried that, somebody like Gina or Carl Weathers, this is their first foray into the Star Wars culture and the secrecy and the veil that exists with it, worried that when they were going to drop something that he didn't want to get out. But I would say just overall, like my impressions is Gina Carano, I didn't know what to think of her because she was an MMA fighter, and beyond that,
I love her.
I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't see her as an actress, but from what I saw in the footage, it seems pretty minimal, and it sounds like they really are going to play up to her strengths, no pun intended. And with Carl Weathers, he looks amazing in that role. He seems like he's going to be very grounded, very fundamental to that move, that story. And just Pedro Pascal, he's like the ultimate fanboy. Like he seemed like very genuinely, sincerely excited to be on here in that moment when he had that cool story about how he went in there and they were showing him all the storyboards and he's like, okay, what do you want me to be? Do you want me to be, I think he's the tree or an alien, a robot? Yeah. And he's like, no, you're the Mandalorian. And then he just pauses and, he did that whole thing where he just fell down, put his head down on the table. And it was believable to me. I could totally see that as being a physical reaction that he had when it was announced that he was going to be the Mandalorian. So I'm pretty excited for all three of those. But Jonesy, what else did you pick up from those three?
Yeah, like I said, they were so afraid to do it, and Filoni was making jokes a bit at their expense, but in jest, and it was really great. Like, yeah, you're doing okay. We're gonna see, and all of that. But
right.
I liked it when they finally got to talk a little bit about their characters, though. They didn't give us a whole lot, but just to be able to get their take on it and what, even like Pedro Pascal. So what inspired him? And I think when you talk about Western, like who is the like you only have a few people that come to mind when you think about classic American Westerns, right? You think about John Wayne, but for most people in our generation, it really does come to Clint Eastwood, right? And you can see that vibe just on the screen with the outfit and the cloak kind of blowing in the background is very much Clint Eastwood from his classic movies.
Yeah.
But to get a little bit, of that too, questionable moral character. So he's not the good guy, but maybe he's not the bad guy.
Yeah.
How does that play?
Which I like. I like the guy that's going to be 1 minute. All right, he's cool. I can relate to him. The next, he's done something completely out of you're like, why would you even, so completely repulsive in a way, but he's got to make a living. So you can kind of all right, I can see that. But I look forward to seeing how this plays out. Cause my fear is, and maybe it's not a bad thing. Like he starts out as a bad guy, the bounty guy, and then he kind of changes his heart and becomes a good guy, which is probably where they'll go. I mean, it is Star Wars. That's kind of a theme, but I don't know. I hope it's not. I hope it's a slow burn. Well, if that's the case.
And there was one thing that I want to credit Utini for this because he was with us, I think, when we were at the Star Wars Episode 9 panel,
right?
And we were waiting there. Do you remember this? He pointed out, and again, it's probably old news now, but in the moment, it wasn't, and it did not click with me until he mentioned it. But he said, hey, look over there. And we were kind of looking across the stadium, and they had all of the good light side characters in blue. And that was the first time I had ever, I guess, either seen or just recognized that the Mandalorian was with all the bad guys. So I think you're right. I think we're going to get a flavor of him initially on as being the bad guy. And I think that's probably going to morph as his character evolves into something a little bit later. But we can talk about the speculation here in just a little bit. But Mike, you're a fan of Gina.
Oh yeah.
So what was it? Where have you seen her before? Or was this just really the fact that she was, a badass doing her own stunts and she could power lift Joe if she really wanted to?
Well, yeah, I'd love to see that fight. Actually, I'd totally put money on. Yeah, I'd totally put money on Gina and Joe. No problem. No, actually, I fell in love with her with Deadpool.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I loved her. I thought she was awesome. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go follow her on Instagram. And I've been following her ever since. And then it was just crazy to me that she got, the rumors were, coming about that she could be on The Mandalorian. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting because I follow her and stuff. And I'm saying to myself, well, it makes sense because she was, she does her stunts. She's an MMA fighter and all that stuff. Well, she's retired now. So yeah, I followed her and I've been following her since. So it's just funny. Like everyone's kind of catching up to her and I've been following her for a couple of years now.
You follow a lot of people and sometimes the law gets involved.
Maybe.
Sometimes a questionable moral character.
Yeah, well, maybe because I am the Mandalorian. Yeah. No, but
you can't be the Mandalorian and the Emperor. Come on.
Yeah, dude.
I can do both, Jonesy. I can do both. So, I multitask.
The more interesting thing about her character, really, though, is this ex-rebel shock trooper.
Yeah.
That sticks out like, whoa, that's really cool. Because we always hear, well, I shouldn't say we always hear, but we've heard enough recently of the defecting, Imperial agents that are now coming over to either the Resistance, Rebellion, that kind of thing. And I'm not saying that's played out because I still want to see more of those stories. But this is an interesting one where she was an ex-rebel, and so the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, so what happened, right? What kind of background story does she have, and how much of that is going to play out, at least in this first season, that we get to really understand what series of events could have caused her to leave a good cause like the Rebel Alliance, or
it's over.
Is it? What's that?
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. Yeah, it's like when soldiers come home from war or from deployment. Is kind of how I interpret it, at least, because she made comments about being a loner and she's having trouble reintegrating with society. It's like, what do you do if you've spent the last 3+ years in an active war zone across the galaxy? How do you come back and try to say what is normal?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you come back to your desk job after you've just been having bullets fly at your head every day? You know what I mean? So that's an interesting aspect I'm looking forward to with her character. Actually, it'll be refreshing, I think, for Star Wars.
Well, I don't think we've ever had anything like that.
Yeah, and you can draw a lot from real life and real soldiers and what they have to do and what they experience, and even you have a lot of themes you could explore within all of that as well within the Star Wars universe. And I think that's a really interesting parallel that they could draw with our own real life stories.
So let's talk quickly. Grief Karga, played by Carl Weathers, head of a bounty hunter guild. We got to see him actually acting for a pretty good amount of time in that one particular scene. But I
got to be honest, I didn't even think we were going to get that. That was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
There, beyond that though, we didn't get a whole lot. He just looks the part, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've liked him in just about everything this guy's done, to be honest. He just comes across as very, I don't know, solid. I don't know what other word to use, but definitely I can see him heading up this particular bounty hunter guild that's, offering money for device.
Well, I see him as like the businessman father figure type, if that makes any sense. I mean, based on what we saw, but I mean, that was only 3-4 minutes or whatever. Yeah. So that's my impression so far, but he looks cool. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited for all of this cast, really, to be honest. So let's get into the extended footage first. So we've got an extended scene, and then we got the teaser trailer, and that extended scene is what we've kind of been touching on and talking about.
Spoilers.
Yeah, well,
just spoilers for all of you.
I would hope. Yeah.
I get it, but I'm just gonna say it because then we'll get mail, and then I'll get yelled at.
That's your job.
Get yelled at.
They don't yell at us.
That's true. Yell at me.
So,
but anyway,
let's talk about let's talk about this. So it starts with I'm talking about the one where he's standing there and he's got like some kind of locator thing going on. He's scanning the environment. Is this supposed to be tied directly into that particular scene, or is this like a cut scene or something?
No, that was part. I got confused there. That's
the teaser.
That's the teaser. Right. What we saw is he walks in the place, and the door closes behind him, and he walks over to Griff there, and he's going through the pucks. Is that what they call them? The pucks with all the things on it, which I thought was cool. And then he says, "Well, I need a better job than this," and he says, "Well, I have a job, but you gotta," he gives him the puck for that, and he goes off and he meets the person that he's gonna go, or whoever, to get the bounty on what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I got it wrong there.
Yeah.
So before we get too far into this, just that setup though, there's been a lot of feedback about this looking unfinished, unpolished. That's why they didn't want to show it. That's why it wasn't officially released, and they were patrolling the aisles through the cameras. But did you guys get the sense when you were watching this that this was not complete footage and that there was still lighting and effects and everything else that needed to go into this? Or did you feel like this was pretty close to what we would see on the air?
I thought it was pretty polished. I think maybe there was some ambient sounds and things like that could have been missing, but we were in a really big hall, and it's difficult to get all of the nuance and the detailed sound profile. But I don't know, visually, acting, I mean, it didn't seem like a rough cut. It was a bit of a longer sequence, but I didn't have any problem with the walking the streets as he's looking for the hideout or for the den. I mean, again, the music sounded great. It really captured the environment. I didn't have any impression that this was not finished. And I think that's why we keep saying, I can understand if they don't want to release the extended sequence. I don't understand why the teaser trailer is not out there though.
Yeah, that I don't understand. I think if anything, Albert, it would be the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
if anything. But I mean, it didn't distract from me. I mean, I was freaking excited and just like, all right, cool. And it has he gets it and he leaves and he's walking through the streets there. And especially when he gets to that was pretty cool. Him walking through the streets and seeing things going on. And, he gets to the door and the little thing pops out like you see him Return of the Jedi, like at Jabba's palace. And I'm like, oh, he's going to meet a Hutt. I got really excited. I'm like, he's going to meet a Hutt. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And we didn't get
I will make one comment.
We didn't get
I will make one comment about that thing. It looked like someone was probably holding a stick because it was moving around quite a bit. It wasn't, it didn't seem as stable.
Well,
like what we saw in Jabba's palace. I mean, that's really, I'm being really nitpicky, guys.
No, you're not, because you're not being nitpicky, because I went and watched the Return of the Jedi scene because I felt the same way. And I would have to say that one looks a little wobbly too. Like it's probably not as wobbly, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've seen this now that it's questioning whether or not it was as real looking as it was for me the last 30 years or so. Right. But it does move around.
Listen, it's the world. Things are broken in this world. I mean, come on. The Empire fell, so your Dora Butler thing eyeball isn't going to be exactly, as limber as he used to be. I guess you could say. So but I thought he was going to see a Hutt. That's what I got excited. I didn't even give a crap about the arm and the way that's going. I didn't care. Maybe they're going to polish that up in post. Maybe that's one of the things that if you notice that, I didn't even notice that. So
are we going to talk about Salacious Crumb?
Yeah.
That was in the teaser.
You can mention that.
The monkey lizard?
That was in the teaser. Right. That was the teaser. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're talking about the extended.
Sorry.
We're talking about the extended scene here. You gotta get there.
Right. So he's going to meet with the Imperial guys, right?
Yeah, and that's played by Werner. What's his name? Werner Herzog. And so everybody is going on about this guy, and don't take that the wrong way. I don't know who he is. Like what?
No, I don't either. I don't. So
anybody know? Jonesy?
I'm trying to remember what he's been in. It's one of those faces you recognize, and you recognize his voice. But yeah, trying to picture where he's at, you just figure he's been a villain in something because, I don't know, he has an accent.
He's a German, as it would be. So anyways, he gets in there and starts having a conversation. And this is one of the scenes that I like. As soon as he walks in, the fact that these stormtroopers are sizing him up and then he's sizing them up. And there's that moment where I guess it's the doctor or whatever walks in. And it prompts all of them to pull the rifles, and he pulls out his rifle and his handgun at the same time.
And it blasts,
right?
Yeah.
And then he makes a comment. This is like the best comment I thought. He makes a comment about, he goes, "Put down your weapon. You're out. You're outnumbered 4-1." And he without pause, he says, "I like those odds," which I thought was cool because I'm like, yeah, that's all right. This guy sees, it's 4-1. He's not scared at all and probably could take these down. And I think it just kind of speaks to the character. I hope they really kind of play up on that as being this, again, really badass.
Impressive slinging that rifle around
as quickly as he did it.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. I mean, that's a long rifle, and to sling that thing around with absolutely no,
without any.
No hiccup in his motion was pretty impressive.
I'm wondering if it's going to be like it was in the holiday special there, the cartoon, because it's like a shock type thing. I have to assume it is, because if I remember right in the teaser, there's a moment where you kind of see that, and I'm trying to remember now that I'm thinking about it.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, but the thing with that scene that surprised me was the troopers there. And this is where it goes back to what I said earlier in the show. Are they hired guns, like bounty hunters now? Because they're former Imperials, and it's like Gina's character. What are you going to do? I mean, you got all these skills of murdering people and all that other stuff. So why not be a bounty hunter or a hired gun for security, right? So I'm wondering if it's that, or is this guy an Imperial? Because he didn't seem like an Imperial to me. He seemed like a gangster, obviously. Or is this that these guys are just, hired guns gangsters now or whatever? So this is why the environment is kind of interesting to me, because then when you see the teaser, you see something a little bit different. And we'll get there when we get there. But what did you guys think of that?
I got the impression that they were hired guns. Like they were maybe, and you could even go so far as to say they really are still part of whatever the Imperial Army is at this point, or the Imperial Navy is at this point. Right. And they're just out to make a quick buck, right? Who's going to stop them? There are probably factions where this is acceptable, and who's going to find them out here, right? This is all very, wild, wild west type territory. So why not pick up a few extra dollars by, running a quick errand here and just protecting this guy, or being those hired hands, so to speak.
Well, and we can be a little bit more literal and think that this is a former governor of whatever place they're at. I don't know if they're actually on Tatooine or whatever this planet might be, but I think some of it comes back to whatever the at least the short-term MacGuffin is with the person that they're hunting, and that they want, that's of interest.
You mean Ben Solo? No,
Right,
yeah. I'm only kidding. Yeah. That would be cool though, but that ain't gonna
That's
happen.
going to set up a lot of what it is they're interested in order to see just how big of a score or how important this is and how these guys fit in with a larger, potential Imperial type of outpost or Imperial type of setup. Or you're right, is this more completely underground and it's for a completely non-Imperial type of purposes and something more personal or a vendetta? But this guy seems to, the way that he speaks about order and things like that, he sounds like he's trying to establish something new or to reestablish what's already, presumably been lost and what the galaxy he feels needs now.
And this scene overall was pretty tense. And my only criticism was it didn't pay off for us. Like there was nothing really at the very end of it, right?
Well, this is just the first few minutes of, I guess, episode
Yeah,
one.
but
So
I don't know. I guess I was expecting that.
Would you want to watch the whole episode?
I wanted like
did.
a Mexican showdown here. Like I wanted him to be all guns pulled.
Well, you almost had that. Yeah, you almost had that.
because I thought that's where this was going, and maybe it does, right? And I'm being critical of a scene that it's not, or something that's not finished, obviously. But I was hoping that we'd get that. No, it made up for it because we got the teaser trailer right afterwards. But
yes, which had
a lot of stuff. And I'm looking at this now, by the way, and that the monkey lizard is in the extended scene.
Oh, it is? Oh, when he's
Yeah, that's
walking.
right.
Yes, it's when he's walking. Yeah, well, we'll talk about that right now.
So
then.
let's talk about
It wasn't Salacious Crumb.
why. Why can't it be?
Because he's dead, because he was
You
dead.
don't
He
know
blew
that?
up
on
at
the sail
Jabba's thing.
barge.
No.
Yeah,
Do you know how many
he-
people
yeah,
in
he's-
Legends lived after that sail barge went down?
Come on, man.
What's
That's
a
Legends.
legend?
This isn't. Yeah, it's not canon.
How quickly we
canon,
forget.
sir.
How quickly we
Yeah.
forget. All right, that's fair.
It's not canon, sir. So
But so
yeah,
there was that. They had the
that
Gonk
was cool.
droid.
That was very disturbing, though. When you think about it, like I didn't think we would see something. It is very Star Wars. Like the one of them's on the Spitfire. The Kowakian lizard's getting cooked, and then all of a sudden you see one looking at
looking at it like
and
I'm
realizing
next.
what his fate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that
It was
was
hilarious.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was
it was a
fun.
nice
Everybody
nod.
laughed.
You mentioned the little guta droid thing at the door. That's probably not how it says.
Yeah.
We got a Gonk droid as well,
That
making
was
the
pretty
Gonk noises.
offensive.
It was a lot of fan service. Is that fair?
It was.
Yeah, well, that's what they're selling there.
And again, presumably for the opening sequence of a first episode, which this felt very much like that, I could see why they would want to do that and get you kind of into the mood, right? Set the stage for you a little bit, get you excited, get you back in that world. And I mean, they said they were going to do this, so they're true to their word. Especially if you're a fan of the original trilogy, expect to see some of these things and probably see them fairly frequently.
Yeah. So here's a question just before we get into the teaser trailer. The Mandalorian, who's the audience for this? Is it us? Is it the people that grew up with the original trilogy? Is it the sequel trilogy folks, prequel trilogy folks? Is it younger kids? Who are they aiming this at?
I think it's everybody. I think it's everybody, but geared specifically towards us, I would say. But I think it's going to appeal to everybody because I think it's going to be really good. And I think it's just going to, that Western gunslinger, loner type, ragtag, motley crew bunch that kind of appeals to a lot of people, like the outsiders kind of thing. So I think it'll appeal to everyone because it's in that time period between the sequel trilogy and the original trilogy. So I think a lot of people kind of just gravitate towards it anyway, mostly because of curiosity of this time period anyway. We're all want to know about this. It's like the last 5 years we wanted to be here and now we're here. I think a lot of people will filter into it. But it might not be for some people. Might be like, no, this isn't for me.
Mhm.
I know it's for me because I'm all in. And I believe you guys are as well. I know Joe is because Joe is excited. I think everybody that we saw, Josh at the panel and everything, I think that was awesome. And I think we're all like, yep, we're in. We're sold. Give me, we'll give you my money. Here you go. But I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think, Jonesy?
My guess is it's going to skew closer to original trilogy, especially in the feel, because that's what Jon Favreau, that's his wheelhouse. That's what he's most interested in. And he had said in the panel too, that the prequel trilogy is something that he's had to learn to appreciate. And especially with Clone Wars and dealing with and working with with Dave Filoni continuously. But they did say they wanted to pull from everywhere. They wanted to pull from the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, Clone Wars, and even from Legends. So again, we might see some Legends get worked back into the story somehow, some way.
Oh, Mara, don't show up, please.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even think about that. Thank you, Michael.
No,
Man. Red hair beauty coming your way, buddy.
Oh,
Yep.
God,
It's
I'm
possible.
running out of the house.
Right. Yeah.
All right,
the
we
Emperor's
gotta-
Handbook, she's back.
We got a little bit of time left. Let's get into the teaser portion of this, the teaser trailer, and it opens with the Razor's Crest? Is the name
Razor
of the
Crest.
ship?
Yes.
Practical
yes.
effect, 100% amazing.
I know that. I'm so
I have
excited
to
about
agree.
that. I don't even know why.
That was one of the surprises of the whole thing. When they showed how they did that, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Anyway, I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
that.
I just like I'm excited about it, and I don't know why. And I mean that in all sincerity because I'm so okay with modern day CGI that it would have been fine if they just did that. But I'm geeking out of the fact that it's old school stuff, and we got a chance to see that, and we're not going to get into that particularly. There was another bit of footage that was shown there that was kind of behind the scenes type stuff, and maybe we'll do that at some point. But
Well,
we
two
got to
words.
see the practical effects there.
Yeah, 2 words. LED engines. I'm sorry. It was amazing watching them make the LED engines, and when they did the key lighting, that was what really made it. And again, unless you see the behind the scenes footage, it seems like a passing shot, but when you see that, you're like, wow, that's really cool.
It's amazing what you can do in your garage. I'll just leave it at
if
that.
you're John Knoll, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The lead on the BTS for me was Dave Filoni's commentary. He was like on his A game. He was cracking me up the entire time when he was talking about that. But anyways, let's get back to the teaser footage. So it opens up with that. We get a shot of the Mandalorian kind of walking into town, and he looks over and sees, I've got to get her name down here. Cara, is that right?
Cara Dune.
Yep, Gina's character.
Yeah, he asks a question of what's her backstory, and then we get a few quick shots of her just going full on MMA, taking somebody out, right? Or a few people out there. So we know she's going to be in for a number of physical fights. And interesting enough, I don't think we mentioned it yet, but she did all her own stunts on all this. Is that what I heard as well?
Yeah, most of them.
Oh yeah.
If not all of them, yeah. So yeah, that's really what you see her. There's a cool shot there too, where the Mando and Cara get into a fight, and there's a kind of a tumble, and they both pull out their weapons at the same time.
Yeah.
But if you play that closely, really slowly back, the Mando pulls his out first. He just didn't take the shot.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Well, she's a pretty girl, so
the
I'm just saying that's if I was the Mando, that's probably why I wouldn't shoot.
Yeah.
But anyway,
who this next guy is that the guy from what's that? I'm drawing a blank now. Breaking Bad. Who's the guy that's playing the? He's standing there. He's older gentleman standing behind the Death Troopers or whatever those guys are there.
Giancarlo or what's his name? Is that the guy? No, I don't know.
We're terrible with actors. Let's not even try this anymore.
Yeah,
this is the same guy that ends up flying the TIE fighter or something later on, right?
Yeah, I mean he's obviously in the Empire. I was trying to think of the actor's name. Despacito. No, that's a Justin Bieber song.
I know the face and I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name off the top of my head.
Along.
We'll know about it soon enough.
To the white trooper coming in, the flame trooper, and I think we mentioned this one earlier, but this one got a pretty big reaction from the fans. Yeah,
it was a big reaction.
I don't know why. I don't see what the big deal is with the flame troopers. They're kind of great. They can burn buildings.
Maybe it was just the way he walked in because he kind of comes.
Well, it could have been. Yeah, he walked in like a badass. I'll give you that.
He's got that huge flamethrower thing, and there's all these other.
And his armor seems bulkier, maybe. So
there's a lot of dead stormtroopers too in that shot. Like he's flaming that building,
I'm curious
and there's all these other ones laying there dead around him.
It's him coming to the cantina to shut us down. That's what it is.
That was your standoff.
Yeah, that
maybe it was. Putting it all together now. There's the next shot has him in a cantina, the Mando, and he's shaking the hand of somebody.
Yeah.
That's not Nick Nolte, is it?
Oh, I have no idea.
I didn't look at it that close.
No, I'm not making a joke. Nick Nolte is in this. He's in this, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, it's supposed to be, isn't it?
That might be. Yeah, that might be him. Wow.
That'll be interesting.
I mean, it's a quick shot. You don't really get to see. It doesn't linger much on it, but it looks like he's teaming up with a group of smugglers, bounty hunters, pirates. I don't know what it is. There's a Twi'lek in there.
Ragtag there. Yeah, there's a bunch of different characters there, like a motley crew of sorts. So this is why I'm wondering if, like, obviously he's going to start out as a loner, And then he teams up with Kara there. And then I wonder if they go and get this ragtag bunch and do something, or is this ragtag bunch getting hired by the Imperial? This is the other thing. All right, so we saw this one gangster guy with the stormtroopers earlier where he got the bounty, right? And the Beskar, which was a nice little nod, as I think Jonesy said it that day. He was glad to see that. But then we got this other guy, this Imperial, this TIE fighter guy, and he's got the flame troopers and he's got these other stormtroopers. He seems like he's in command and he's in charge of something, like a planet or something. Is it on the same planet? Is it somewhere different? Is what's going on there? That's why I said that. Is this one, are these hired guns, and is this the actual government of this planet or something? So there's a lot going on there. I can't wait to dive in to see what is what there. But we diverted there, so I'm sorry.
I'm seeing parallels here with what we had in the Clone Wars with the Asajj Ventress when she strikes on her own and she starts teaming up with Boba Fett and company. And I'm kind of wondering, they had the thing where they had to go find the kids, and then they released them, and some other things happened. This is kind of taking on. You can kind of see where you can draw some parallels too. Of they were supposed to hunt somebody down, then they learn the story, they don't do it, and then the Empire, or whatever remnant we're dealing with here, retaliates as they try to claim what property they believe is theirs.
So yeah, I can see that. We get a shot of Jawas, so they're back. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
Another space battle going on here. And then we get this droid that I said was a foot soldier, but Jonesy, I think you had a chance to dive into a little bit more about what kind of droid this was. Where did we land on this thing?
Is my mild obsession with this droid.
Is it AP5?
It's an RA7 droid, and it got nicknamed the Death Star droid. So we see this on the Death Star. This is actually in the Clone Wars, is what it looks most similar to. This has a slightly different tweak on the design, I think, on the eyes mouth. Primarily.
I thought it was mouth too, though, because it's got like a gear set. It almost looks like a Mazda RX-7.
Yeah, it's this weird, like triangular kind of weird prism kind of look thing, but I think it is something very close to probably an RA7 droid. It doesn't mean anything. I kind of thought it was a bounty hunter at first.
Yeah, AP5 is an RX, is a, what are
RX-7?
they called?
AP5 was a specific, it was a specific droid, right?
Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying this is him. I'm just saying it's that type of droid.
Exactly.
But anyway.
Right. Yeah, so when we solved that mystery, and I could sleep after 2 days.
Oh, good. I'm glad you got some sleep.
No, thank you. I mean, you're the one that dug that up for me, because it was really starting to bother me.
Well, that's good. I'm glad for that. And actually, that's not IG-88 in the thing.
Well, hold on. Don't skip over who I think is.
Sorry. We're talking droids.
Who I think is Nick Nolte riding a dewback in the next scene here. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. Well, that's not a dewback.
No, it's
per se.
not.
That's like a miniature thing that plays homage to the holiday special with Boba riding that dinosaur.
Maybe.
Thing.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of those little creatures in Resistance that are always biting Kaz's hands. Just a giant version of it.
Yeah, with the little teeth.
Oh, yeah.
We get a shot next of kind of a quick draw, like a standoff. The old Western spaghetti style. He's slowly, I'm assuming that's the Mando's hand. I can't really tell, but someone's reaching for their weapon.
You got a fetish with hands all of a sudden?
No.
I don't know. Like, you must love that scene in The Last Jedi. Like, you must really.
Oh, jeez.
Must do it for you.
We were so close.
Yeah. Well, no. he's talking hands. So, but anyway, go ahead.
I don't know where to go with that.
I didn't mean to break it. I didn't want to break your concentration. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Mission accomplished. All right, let's talk about IG-88. Oh, wait, it's not IG-88. But it's an IG droid of some type.
Yeah, it's IG-11.
Why is it not IG-88? Enlighten me here.
That's a good question.
It does in my opinion, it doesn't. He doesn't. This one has more armor plating, and that you could argue that IG-88 did that. No, you can't. I don't know. I don't think you can tell from the perspective. You need a banana for perspective or something.
Well, and there was an IG-90 droid at one point too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was in the old West End games, there was an IG-86 droid. I mean, there's all these different variations. So I think the takeaway from this scene was we've always wondered what IG-88 would do in a battle and why he would be so effective. And the way this thing looks is it's got and we know it, but we just never seen it. It's got so many eyes, and it can do multiple things, multiple weapons at once, where, a human being couldn't do that. And we got to see this thing flip around, shoot somebody, kill somebody, flip around again, shoot somebody, kill somebody, that kind of thing. So
did we see him in Clone? He was in Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, and then they were also in the first animated series, they were Lancer droids. I don't know if you guys remember that episode there. That was with
with Dirge.
Dur, I think it was. Yeah, exactly. That was cool stuff.
But yeah, this was another fan favorite moment, right? The place went absolutely crazy. Seeing I'm just going to call him IG-88. It is.
Yeah,
has to be.
Well, has to be. Yeah,
he's everyone's favorite assassin droid. Aside from C-3PO
and HK.
We just don't know that side of him yet.
Yeah, well, let's hope we don't. But anyway.
So where are we at? There's a lot going on here. Like, it's so fast. There's a bunch of cutscenes, quick cutscenes of just a lot of action. Like, the Mando's coming out. He's like kicking somebody and then firing his weapon. So he's using both his physical attack abilities as well as his, ability to shoot weapons of multiple types. There's one part in there where he electroshocks a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And it's just a rapid succession of shots here. We get the dude flying the Imperial TIE Fighter, the leader, without his helmet, so we know who he looks like. We see him, and then one of the cooler parts is the Mando taking some sort of object, weapon, and to the face of one of the stormtroopers and just destroying that helmet, which got a huge reaction from the fans as well on both viewings.
I don't know if I thought that was the flame trooper, to be honest, but it looked like it had the red on him, but I could be wrong.
I think you're wrong.
I'll have to go back and look at it
right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the lighting was a little weird, but it looked like a normal stormtrooper.
Well, thank you. Well, all right, fine, whatever. Actually, you know what? Was it one of the ones that in the original meeting with that guy? Is it one of them?
Maybe that's the standoff after they came out.
They all look alike.
That's very true. They all do.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jonesy. The cantina, though, that we saw early on, that's Mos Eisley, right?
Yes, that is it. That I know that.
Yeah, that
cantina.
is the cantina.
Right? That is our cantina. Yeah. Yes, that is ours. That's where we're gonna podcast from. So, but anyway,
you have put your flag in the ground on this one, haven't you?
No, absolutely. I've staked the claim. We are the original cantina. So that's what we are.
It's our garrison.
So that's what we're gonna
cantina garrison.
Exactly. So if you're in there, get out of our seats. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm watching this thing.
Anyway,
no, you're fine. I'm not even listening. I'm watching this.
Shocker! Shocker!
I'm like, I just noticed something that I hadn't seen before. So he uses a pistol, the rifle. He uses a knife.
Yeah.
He's got his martial art combativeness, and then there's a really quick shot in here that I had not caught, where he's got some kind of a wire. Like, he fires a wire around someone's neck or their back and then it's a stormtrooper, I think. Let me just watch this. Yeah. He fires it. It wraps around that dude's neck and he pulls him back. Yeah. So, I mean, he's like, he's got a full arsenal here of stuff. So I'm so excited about
Boba.
this.
Yeah. That's why you're going to learn he's Boba Fett's son in season 5. So whatever.
But he has no antenna.
I know. That's more practical not to have the antenna, because that thing would be bending and breaking.
Exactly.
And that's probably why they didn't do it for production-wise. They're like, listen, you're going to be jumping around and all this other stuff. We can't be fixing your antenna every 5 seconds, so no antenna. Which is fine. I think it's cooler, to be honest. I think it's an interesting look. So
that's where it ends. It ends with that iconic shot now of him holding the rifle up to the camera in that music playing, which I think they've done a great job.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they nailed that music. I want to hear more what the soundtrack's going to sound like.
Who is doing the music?
I don't know, but it's awesome.
I don't think so. If they have, I haven't caught it. But it sounds cool.
It's a very cool vibe that they've got going on with it.
All right. Well, Mike, let's start with you. Final thoughts on, I guess, so far what you've seen with The Mandalorian, and how excited are you about this?
I'm very excited, and I'm all in, and I'm even wearing my Mandalorian shirt as I podcast with you guys. So I'm back. I'm excited. I look forward to talking about it as we get closer, and hopefully we get something with San Diego Comic-Con. I think they said they were going there, so hopefully we get to talk a little bit more, and you guys will actually get to see what we did in a few months, hopefully. And when it starts, I'm looking forward to where this is going to go. This is interesting. And as Joe was sitting next to me and he saw it, and we were all like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. Yeah. And I can't wait. So,
Jonesy?
Yeah, I can't wait to get the legit copy of this so we can put it up on a big screen and really get a really fine detail, to look at all of the details. Because again, everything that they told us in the panel was that there are so many things packed into every frame that is just there for you to absorb and take in and have a lot of fun with it. And so I'm really excited to start looking into that. But also the vibe and the story is hitting all the right notes right now. And we'll see if they can carry this through for the however many episodes they're actually going to do of this thing. And well, I'm kind of curious, like, where does this thing go just for the first season? And as you get into what does the second season look like? And so I'm already getting way ahead of myself on this, and we haven't really seen more than 5 minutes of footage. Yeah. But so far, man, first impressions are very, very good, very promising. And we'll see if I can keep this up over. This is what I like about Netflix style shows, where you keep them really concise. The problem with episodic television is that you get really verbose storyline. Yeah, a lot of fluff and a lot of filler and a lot of garbage. This doesn't have time to put garbage in. So I think it's going to really keep the story moving along. And that's got me really excited to have a nice tight story within 8 to 10 episodes.
I would agree. I'm not going to really add anything new to what you guys have said. I'm pretty stoked about it. I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to see all of this. Every character, the directors, the style, the music. I'm all in on this thing. Let's just end with this last question, because we've talked about it. We've danced around it. It's the elephant in the room. And I'll start with you, Mike. Are we going to see Boba Fett or some...
Yes.
Yes. Hold on.
No, I'm telling you.
You're coming out right now on the record saying that we're going to see Boba Fett in season 1.
Not season 1.
Well, see, you should have waited.
You might get... All right. See, I got a little premature on that.
But you think so? Season 1. That's the question. But you think at some point we were going to see
at some point
Boba Fett.
Will. I mean, the way Dave and John were talking, it leads me to believe Boba's gonna pop up at some point. But you're gonna save that card. You're not gonna play that card yet. So you're gonna keep it. You might get hints of things here and there. And I don't want them to tell us who the Mandalorian's name is. I don't want to know it for a while. So keep that in the back burner too. But I think Boba Fett, I would love, and I know I always said, maybe Boba cloned himself like his father did. But it'd be cool if Boba just actually had a regular biological son and this is him.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. That's just one thing I'm throwing. See, we're getting into speculation already. I love it. But, I think Boba will appear at some point. And to be honest, if you want to bring him back and maybe somehow show him survive or get him crawling out of that Sarlacc pit, maybe this is where you do it. I don't know. It's 5 years after the Return of the Jedi. I don't know. But anyway, yes, I do. Right. But carry on.
Jonesy, same question. Do you think we're going to see Boba Fett at the end of season 1, or do you think we'll see him at all in the series?
I don't think we'll actually see him in season 1, but it wouldn't surprise me if we got a hint that maybe we think we're seeing him, but we don't really see him. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I would, on the speculation front, one thing that I would flip out over is if we ever learn the Mandalorian's name, and his name is Cal Skirata. Mm-hmm. From the Republic Commando books, I would lose my mind over that
cool.
one.
That'd be interesting.
It would be interesting. It would be amazing.
That it would. I don't think they'll go there, but that'd be
canon anymore.
That's a deep cut reference, if you will.
It is.
Yeah, it is, and Jonesy and 5 other people would lose their mind, but everybody else would be like,
Would be an amazing crew of 5.
Jonesy Party 5. I think for me, I would say yes. I think at some point, I can't see them not doing this. I mean, they've got a perfect opportunity, and the fact that there was at one point a rumored Boba Fett movie. There's probably a lot of material stuff they could recycle from that in seasons later on to kind of really mature that storyline out and not really let all that go to waste. I think at the end of season 1, I do expect us to get some kind of hint, if nothing else, that Boba Fett is around somewhere. Whether the Mando is his son in some way, I know you get to start playing with the timelines here and how that's all feasible, but of a relationship of some type, or I think that would be an interesting story to pursue. I do think at some point there's going to be, I want to know who this person is that we're looking for, and I think at the very end of season 1, I think they're going to play that out. We don't find out who the person that Boba Fett is going after until that very last episode, and I want that to somehow tie to Boba Fett in some way. It doesn't have to be him. It doesn't have to be his offspring or anything else, but I just want that connection there because I think that's what people are clamoring for, and I think there's a lot of story that could still be told. If they can bring back the Emperor and they can bring back everybody else, why not bring back Boba Fett?
You bet.
All right. So with that,
we even brought me back.
Let's not get carried away. We've got a couple of reviews. There was one MPJ 13 Says, I can't say it enough. The crew gives us Star Wars news with no drama or inflated egos. Thank you. They keep it clear and give great detailed opinions on everything Star Wars. A nice, refreshing listen for Star Wars fans. And that was a 5-star review. And we've got some new folks that joined Discord, Jonesy, as well.
Yeah, Jedi Scooter and I Am Woot.
I Am Woot.
Kind of like that one. That's pretty cool.
So thank you guys for joining Discord. And if you guys want to join us on Discord, please come on over. We'll put the links in the show notes. Obviously, you can follow us on all the social media links as well. Mike Rondo, any last departing words before we go?
I will see you next week.
No. Jonesy, anything from you?
He's worth a lot to me.
Oh, nice. Well played. 277 is next. We'll be doing the Clone Wars Celebration panel and trailer, very much like we did tonight. We'll break all of that down, give you some thoughts and speculation, and probably reiterate the fact that we've already covered some of the episodes that are going to be in that final season. So go look for those in the back catalog of episodes that Jonesy and I did. So until next week, we'll see you guys next time.
See you next week. You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.